You'll never win if you let emotions run your life. Winners don't move when they feel like it. They move because they said they would. Discipline is what separates the lions from the sheep. Everyone feels tired, everyone feels pain, but the man who acts regardless of how he feels, that's the man who conquers. You want success? Stop chasing motivation and start mastering discipline. Most people are prisoners of their emotions. They move only when they feel good, when life is smooth, when everything aligns perfectly. That's why they stay average. Discipline builds the man, emotion breaks him. I've had days when I didn't want to do anything, days when the money wasn't coming in, the pressure was high, and everything in me said, take it easy. But I didn't listen to my emotions. I learned early that emotions are the enemy of progress. If I only worked when I felt good, I'd still be broke, sitting on a couch, talking about what I could do instead of doing it. You know, when I was coming up, there were no guarantees. I didn't have comfort. I had stress, I had chaos, I had problems hitting me from every direction, but discipline kept me standing. I used to wake up with doubt screaming in my head, thinking maybe I wasn't good enough, maybe I should slow down. But the moment that thought came, I'd shut it down and act. Because I understood something. If I surrendered to emotion even once, I'd start a pattern. You skip one day, soon you're skipping two, and before you know it, your dreams are gone. You know, discipline taught me control. It's not about ignoring emotions. It's about mastering them. When I trained, when I worked, when I built my life, I didn't do it because I felt like it. I did it because I said I would. That's the difference between men who talk and men who win. I've been tired, I've been frustrated, I've been angry, but I never stopped moving. Discipline doesn't care if you're happy, sad, or comfortable. It demands action, and action creates results. You know, there were nights I couldn't sleep, times when nothing was working, and it felt like the world was against me. But even then I showed up because discipline doesn't ask for your feelings, it asks for your effort. Every time I pushed through when I didn't want to, I became stronger. Every moment I acted despite emotion, I earned more control over my life. That's how you build yourself into someone unstoppable. Discipline is the reason I didn't break when life got hard. It's the reason I'm here speaking to you now. You control your emotions or they'll control you. Your emotions will lie to you every single day. They'll tell you you're too tired, too stressed, too late, too broken to keep going. But emotions fade and results last forever. I learned that the hard way. There were times when I woke up feeling completely drained, times when everything inside me said, take a break. But I realized something powerful. Success doesn't care about how I feel. The world rewards action, not emotion. Every feeling you have is temporary, but the outcome of your discipline is permanent. You know, when I was building myself, there were days when nothing made sense. The work was exhausting, the progress was slow, and my emotions were screaming at me to quit. I'd sit there thinking, why am I doing all this? But that's exactly when you need to move, because those emotional moments are traps. If you give in once, it gets easier to give in again. And that's how most people lose. They let emotions dictate their future instead of letting discipline guide it. You know, I remember training when I didn't want to. I remember working through long nights when my mind said stop. But I kept pushing, and when the results started to show, the strength, the money, the peace, the respect, it all made sense. The pain, the exhaustion, the doubt, they're all temporary, but the rewards, those stayed. That's the difference between the emotional man and the disciplined man. One feels his way through life, the other builds, saw his way through it. You know, there were times I lost deals, times people doubted me, times I doubted myself, but I refused to let those moments decide my direction. I'd feel the frustration, acknowledge it, then get back to work. Because discipline is about doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. And when you start living like that, you become untouchable. You realize emotions are just noise, loud in the moment, but powerless in the long run. You know, the truth is simple. Your emotions will fade, but the legacy you build through discipline will stay. Stop listening to feelings that disappear tomorrow. Do the work today, and the results will speak forever. Winners don't wait for the right moment. They make the moment right. That's what most people never understand. They think success is about timing, luck, or emotion. It's not. It's about standards. The disciplined man lives by standards. The emotional man lives by moods. I didn't get here because I felt good every day. I got here because I held myself to a standard that didn't change no matter what was happening around me. When you set your own standards, you stop negotiating with weakness. There were times in my life when everything around me was chaos. Business deals were failing, people were walking away, and everything in me wanted to slow down. But slowing down was never an option. I had already decided who I was and what I stood for. My standards didn't bend to my emotions. I remember training in freezing weather, hungry, exhausted, but I refused to quit because I told myself that no matter what, quitting was never part of the standard. When you make that kind of decision, life can throw anything at you and you'll still move forward. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for a good day, a good mood, or a perfect situation to take action. That's weakness. The world doesn't reward people who wait. It rewards those who execute. I've been through enough to know that waiting for the right moment is just another form of fear. When I was broke, when nobody believed in me, I didn't wait for approval. I created my own opportunities through relentless action. That's what separates the successful from the average. They move based on principle, not feeling. When you live by emotion, you'll always find excuses. When you live by standards, you'll always find a way. I had to teach myself that discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about refusing to lower your bar when life gets difficult. You must become the kind of person who keeps their word to themselves first. Every morning you decide whether to obey your emotions or your standards. And that single decision determines everything about your future. Stop waiting to feel ready. The man who acts while others hesitate is the man who wins. People think discipline is a cage, but it's the exact opposite. Emotion traps you, discipline frees you. When you live by emotion, you're constantly reacting to the world. Every setback, every disappointment, every little change in mood pulls you in a new direction. You have no control, but when you live with discipline, you become unshakable. You move with purpose. You decide what happens next instead of letting life decide for you. That's real freedom. There was a time when my life was chaos. Everything felt unstable. I'd wake up some mornings with no clarity, just noise in my head, stress, pressure, people talking, everyone wanting something from me. And when you live in that state, emotion will destroy you. I had to teach myself that control was everything. I couldn't afford to let feelings dictate my actions. If I felt angry, I had to stay calm. If I felt tired, I still had to show up. That's discipline. It's not about pretending emotions don't exist. It's about not being owned by them. I remember working when everyone else was relaxing. People told me I was too strict, too hard on myself. But those same people are now stuck where they were, still ruled by their emotions, still waiting for the right feeling to get started. The truth is, emotional comfort is a trap. It feels good in the moment, but costs you everything in the long run. Discipline hurts at first, but it gives you control over your time, your body, your results, your future. Once I built that control, everything in my life began to align. I didn't have to wait for motivation or luck. I built systems, I built habits, and those habits built my freedom. I've seen both sides, the life where emotions rule you and the life where discipline rules you. One keeps you lost and frustrated, the other gives you power. You can't call yourself free if your mood decides what kind of day you'll have. Real power is doing what needs to be done, no matter how you feel. That's the kind of control most people will never experience. Discipline isn't a prison. It's the key that unlocks freedom. Motivation is temporary. It's a spark, not a fire. It gets you started, but it can't keep you going. Discipline is what carries you through when that spark burns out. I've had countless days when motivation was nowhere to be found. Days when I woke up exhausted, uninspired, even angry at the world. But those were the days that truly built me, because those were the days I relied on discipline, not emotion. You can't build a strong life waiting to feel ready. You'll never always feel ready. Discipline is doing it anyway. When I was trying to build my foundation, I didn't have comfort or encouragement. Nobody was patting me on the back saying, keep going. It was just me against the pressure. I had to find a way to show up even when every part of me wanted to stop. Motivation fades when the excitement is gone, but discipline doesn't care. It's like a machine. You turn it on, it moves forward no matter how you feel. That's how I survived the slow years, the hard nights, the endless grind. I kept doing the work. No noise, no emotions, no excuses. There were weeks I felt like progress wasn't happening. You train, you work, you push, and nothing seems to move. That's where most people quit. They say, I've been trying and it's not working, because their motivation dies out, but discipline keeps you consistent long enough to see results. I'd been through the frustration, through the boredom, through the silence when no one was watching. That's when I learned that real strength is built in those invisible moments. People love the idea of success, but hate the repetition that builds it. They want the outcome without the grind. But discipline is the bridge between dreams and results. It's not glamorous, but it's undefeated. Every win I've had, every goal I've achieved, came from doing what needed to be done, even when I didn't feel like it. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Motivation gets you excited for a week. Discipline changes your life forever. Don't chase motivation, build discipline, and you'll never need motivation again. Everyone looks strong when things are easy. Everyone looks focused when life is smooth, but that's not where your future is built. Your future is built in the weak moments, the times when you're tired, alone, uncertain, and every voice in your head says, stop. And that's the real test, because discipline isn't about what you do when you feel powerful. It's about what you do when you feel broken. When everything inside you says quit, but you move anyway, that's where champions are made. I've had plenty of those moments, times when the weight felt too heavy, when the goals seemed too far away, and nothing I did seemed to work. I remember nights when I couldn't sleep because my mind was filled with doubt. You start questioning everything, your plan, your purpose, even yourself. But I learned that those moments are necessary. They expose who you really are. Weak moments reveal whether your discipline is real or just talk. Anyone can grind when life is going their way. The real ones keep going when life hits back. There were days I trained with no energy, days I worked when it felt pointless. But every time I pushed through, something changed inside me. My mind got tougher, my will stronger. I realized that pain, boredom, and doubt were just filters. They exist to separate those who want it from those who truly deserve it. And every time I refused to give in, I gained another layer of control over my own life. That's how growth happens, through the moments that try to break you. You can't expect to build a great life if you only move when it's easy. Discipline means showing up when it's hard, when it's cold, when it's uncomfortable. That's where progress lives. Every time I conquered a weak moment, it built momentum, it built belief. Because once you've survived your own low points, nothing outside can stop you. Those weak moments become your strength, your proof that you can endure anything. Your future isn't built in comfort, it's built in struggle. The man who keeps going when he wants to quit becomes unstoppable. Control your emotions, or they'll control you. Discipline isn't punishment, it's the foundation of freedom. Be the man who moves through storms while others wait for the sun.